Welcome to the Palace of Megapixels. This is Super Mega Grand Brothers Turbo.
Everyone, and welcome to Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo. I'm your host, Stephen White, and with me, as always, is Todd Stark.
Hello, hello.
And today we have a very special guest in our Palace of Megapixels, the one, the only, Jyinx from Twitch. Jyinx, how you doing today, buddy? Oh no, we lost
I think you hit the mute button again.
You hit the mute button again?
Sorry, thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here.
There we are, yeah. Well, anyway.
I've seen his mouth moving, but no words.
It's fine. Technical difficulties, it happens. Jyinx, since you're new to the show, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jyinx. I'm a Twitch streamer. You can catch me on JyinxTV. Yeah, that's it pretty much, man. I like to play games.
So what actually brought you into streaming, doing Twitch and all that?
Personally, I just like to entertain people. I like to think I'm an entertaining guy, fun to watch sometimes, even though I'm probably horrible, but yeah. Just the sheer enjoyment of it, really.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a good reason to do it, I think. I don't think some people actually do it for that reason, but to have that that idea of entertainment.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like there to make money. I mean, if I can make money along the way, I suppose that's good. But I don't know. I just generally like to think myself as an entertaining character. I like making people laugh. You know, center of attention, me, and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you start going about it like trying to make money, I think you lose the point.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I feel like you will lose a lot of motivation to do it. Really,
yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I definitely kind of agree with that, because going at it from a money perspective, you're never gonna do it right.
Yeah,
but
but
if you want to entertain, that's your goal. You're always gonna have your best intentions, your best foot forward, trying to make
exactly. So if you go into it more as for passion, passion reasons.
Yep, it kind of comes through.
I want to go in that sense, but like everything along the way, it's all up to you. You're wanting to do it. Do you know what I mean? So you give it to like 110% all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you make money along the way, that's okay.
Yeah.
No, Nate. Feel free.
So how long would you say that you've considered yourself a gamer?
Oh God. Right, there's a statement, as long as I can remember, actually counters that a bit too cheap.
No, that's actually because I think a lot of us.
I remember when I was like 3 years old, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, all that. That's like as long as I can remember, I've always held like a controller or some sort of game, controller thing in my hand.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a fair assessment. I'd say 5 years old for me.
Yeah, Nintendo. Yeah. 5 years old.
That's about when it came about, because I remember having cousins who had an Atari, and I was just so jealous. And then suddenly my parents were like, "Here's a Nintendo," and I was like, "Whoa!" So I was so happy.
Well, I had an Atari too, so maybe sooner. I had a Commodore 64 also, but I got that later.
Yeah. Did you have ColecoVision?
No, I didn't have ColecoVision. I got 2020 vision.
That's better.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Jyinx, what games would you say that you typically lean toward? Not just in streams, but just in general.
I play more off stream than I do on stream, really. I do at the minute. I'm into like my grand strategy, so I'm playing a lot of Total War. For the guys that know me, which is probably you, the one that I go on about them sort of games a lot when I'm playing my playthroughs.
Right.
I love my RPGs. Probably a thing I picked up like later on in my gaming years is playing RPGs. It's the story, the item choice customization and everything like that.
Right.
Shooters as well. I'm pretty all round. But yeah, I lean towards RPGs, MMOs, and grand strategies.
Now, as far as RPGs, would you say like basic RPGs, or do you like the real big, in-depth one, like the JRPGs?
So I probably started out with like the cheesy Xbox 360 RPGs, like like in my eyes, when I look back at it, pretty basic ones. Stuff like Mass Effect 1 or Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, that's a good
stuff
one.
like that.
Yeah, that was a good game.
And it's only like recently I started picking things up. Like I don't know if you've seen it on Steam or heard about it. What was it called? Tyranny. And that really got me into like the classical RPGs,
Right.
like point and click, turn based, like read text and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I go heavy into my RPGs now.
That's a way to go. If you're gonna go RPGs, you got to go all in. That's at least the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's it, man. Go hard or go home. So.
That's right. Now, what issues as a streamer are there? Any issues that you encounter on a regular basis? Do you get hounded by trolls or anything like that?
Do you know what? I'm actually quite surprised. I haven't been hounded by trolls personally, and please understand what I say is I'm a black guy. I thought like being in their presence, like of any sort, I was going to attract at least one or two guys popping in chats, like saying like crap in chat to me, like about my skin color or whatever. Not experienced any of that, and I'm surprised like some of my other Epic team members have, and I'm sitting there thinking like, where like. Is it just like I'm not a good enough target to go for? So I go for the other guys, you know what I mean? So like on a troll front, no. Technical difficulties, yes, I do run into that, and keeping to a time schedule sometimes.
Right.
Because obviously real life impacts that a lot.
Yeah, if I would say that most streamers, if they could make it their job to do that, if you were making enough money that you could do that, I'm sure you could keep a better stream. Or a better schedule,
yeah,
but
I suppose that is very true.
Right.
I don't know. It's very easy because again, this is more fun for me than anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we Todd and I both can attest to that. You know, we have to make time for what we enjoy,
right?
For our fun. We'd rather be doing this as a job, but
that's
it, man. There's no point. I feel there's no point of doing this if your heart ain't in it for the pure reason of like entertainment value alone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think if you can actually carve that out for yourself, you know, in between real life stuff, that shows your passion. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. So that's good. Now, you are hosting the 4th Epic giveaway on November 17th. Is that correct?
Yeah, buddy.
And that is for Star Wars Battlefront 2?
Star Wars Battlefront 2, yeah.
All right.
I'm excited for that game.
Is there anything you could tell everybody about that, or is it just another big giveaway? Do you have anything planned?
Little green men jumping about, and come on, man! If you don't know Star Wars, I mean, Battlefront 1, was a terrible game, but 2 they really picked up their game. EA, I'll give that's the one thing I'll give them.
Yeah,
they've really done a good job. I personally think
it looks outstanding.
I will say, just to give Battlefront 1 just a little bit of props, is the VR mission that they added. That was very fun. 30 minutes of pure bliss in Star Wars.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Too late. I feel like that's what Battlefront 1 was.
But to be sitting in an X-Wing and floating in space, that was pretty cool. Not saying that it made up for the entire game, by no means, but just that little. I mean, they could have released that separately, and I would have been fine.
Was that when they like put in the space combat stuff, or?
I think it was a late edition. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I played the space combat in 2, and oh my god, that's like my favorite game mode, like ever.
Yeah, I don't think they've really done.
It's how to play the game, man.
I don't think they've done really good space combat since games like Rogue Squadron and stuff like that. Those were really good when it came to space combat.
Rogue Squadron, oh Jesus Christ! I remember having that on the GameCube.
Yeah, that was a classic game right there. Now, since you're playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, you are a fan of EA, right?
I think we had discussions about this, the money.
Yeah.
No, I am no big Like, EA is just like any good franchise they've ever made. They've managed to, like, implode it pretty much.
Yes.
Do I really need to run off examples? You can go with Mass Effect, Dragon Age.
Dragon Age. God, they screwed that up.
Oh, mate. Do you remember when 2 came out? 1 was great. Fantastic.
1 was great.
2, oh my God.
Horrible.
What a dumpster fire that was.
Yeah, I tried playing. I'd never played the game before, and I tried Inquisition. And for whatever reason, I spent money on this game.
It was better than 2. I'll give it that. It was better than 2, but it was just dull.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. I got halfway. Well, I wouldn't even say halfway through it. I just got to a point, and I was like, I'm really not getting into this. And I spent money on it, good money on it.
2 was so bad I didn't play part 3.
Oh, here's another good example: Star Wars: The Old Republic, MMO. There you go.
Yeah.
What's that like nowadays? I don't know.
I've just avoided it. I'm not big into MMOs, or at least not in that capacity. Well, it's good to have you here, man. I hope you're gonna.
Thanks for having me. I'm good to be here.
Chime in on our festivities, our news, and stuff like that. But first, we're gonna get into a little segment of what we playing. Jyinx, what have you been playing recently?
Ooh, Neo has just released on PC, so from PS4. So I've been playing a bit of that. I did do a stream on Thursday of that. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Todd, what about you? What are you?
Yeah.
Huh. Still playing 7 Days to Die and Dead by Daylight.
Fair enough. Okay. I did get to play a little bit of Dead by Daylight with you. That was kind of fun.
It's a good game.
But I've also been playing the Frozen Wilds, the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC. That's been it's been a nice addition because I've wanted to go back to that game. I've wanted to play it again, and this just kind of opened that door so I can go back into it a little bit. And they did not disappoint in the sense of they opened up a whole new world that, you know, if you've played the game up to a point and you've maxed it out and you've got your high level and all your skills, you think you could walk in there and just be like, well, this would be a cakewalk. No. They amped it up so you don't just walk in thinking you're going to breeze through this. So the challenge is there. I've encountered quite a few beasts that have put up a fight. So it's nice that I didn't come in with a learning or an advantage. You know what I mean?
How many new enemies are there?
I've only encountered one so far, but I do believe there are a few more.
Good.
I don't think that I've encountered them as of yet.
Do they still feel like a boss battle?
Yes.
Awesome.
The Scorchers are the newest ones that I've seen, and they're relentless. They're worse than the Sawtooths. You know, jumping at you like panthers and unleashing like the big fire bombs. They've got mines that they shoot out. So, I mean, you have to watch everything you're doing.
Right.
Because in a moment's notice, you could be overwhelmed and killed instantly.
You know what I feel like when I see it? Like, the more that I see Monster Hunter World and I start thinking back about Horizon Zero Dawn, it feels like a little bit of Monster Hunter when you're fighting some of those bigger monsters.
Yeah.
Or robots.
Yeah, am I like the only person that's never played Monster Hunter? If so, I feel sad.
Played what?
Monster Hunter.
I've never played it. I've just seen it.
Monster Hunter, I mean, I will say, I don't even know out of our group in Epic who has played it, but I got onto it, I think, back on the Wii when it was Monster Hunter 3 came out there, and I'd never heard of the series before. And I read a review, I think, in a game magazine that was like, this is not an easy game. By no means this is a game that will challenge you, but when you figure it out and you learn it, it's worth it. So I decided, what the hell, I'll give this a shot. And I did. It took me a while to really figure it out because I kept getting my ass handed to me, hand over fist with some of these enemies because I wasn't approaching it in the most accurate way. Because you can't just go in hacking and slashing. You have to really think about the enemy that you're fighting and then approach each enemy differently because they're all different. So it was, once I figured that out, my hunting skills just elevated and it became so much more fun. So I'm really hoping that all of you get Monster Hunter World and we can all play because it is, I don't know if what they've changed specifically, but once you figure it out, once you understand the mechanics of it, you can really be a badass. And it makes you feel so much more awesome when you can take down a big enemy that was just stomping you down.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like my sort of game.
Yeah,
like,
it's
definitely props to any game that actually presents a challenge.
Yes,
players,
and it does. It will kind of punish you. I don't want to say punish, but if you screw up, if you die, the reward you get is lessened and stuff like that. So it gives you that incentive to really do your best.
Right.
So that's what I loved about it. So I can't wait. It's January, end of January.
That's soon. They've only just announced that,
so.
though, haven't they?
Yeah, but they've been pushing it hard.
January, and then February 6th is Shadow of the Colossus, right?
Yes. Shadow of the Colossus. Well, anyway, we're going to trail off. Let's get into our news. The first thing I have in our news, there was a lot of news out of Microsoft this week. I don't know if you noticed that or not. The first thing I have is that lots of the news this week surrounding Microsoft. The first was the launch of the Xbox One X. That was was it
Tuesday?
Tuesday? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, customers who have purchased their Xbox One X are reporting that some of their consoles are dead on arrival. Those reports have followed a pattern of being in the middle of a game, playing it, and then the console suddenly shuts down. The player will then try to turn it back on with no luck, and most of the issues that have been reported seem to be affecting the limited edition's Project Scorpio version.
Yeah, that was the one's got the little scorpion on the microchip inside, right? That's supposed to be their best one, right?
How much do one of them cost? Like the Xbox One X.
$5.99.
I think it was
Is it $4.99 or $5.99?
I think there were the Xbox One S was the $3.99, and then the X was $4.99.
Gotcha. Yeah, $4.99. That's right.
You can buy a half decent PC, just like food for thought with that money.
Right. Exactly.
That's what I would do. I would have a PC before I would get an Xbox One X.
Mm-hmm. Because most of everything you can find is on PC. Not everything, but most.
Right. Yes.
Most
everything that you can play on it.
It was that way, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything was coming to PC naturally now. So, yeah.
The only thing you can't get on PC is Sony's like really exclusive titles, and that's why you have a PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. Now, Microsoft has told customers at this time to contact them immediately as the console is under warranty and will be replaced. At this time, it's unknown how widespread this issue is, but things like this, they've happened in the past with some product launches.
And it's just, I guess they have a failure rate of like you don't want it to go over like what 4 to 5%.
Yeah.
But what was it? The Xbox 360's failure rate at first was, I remember reading it was close to 50%.
Yeah, and that was like their Red Ring of Death.
Yeah, that's...
Death. Oh, yeah. I was glad that I went like 3-4 years without my Xbox breaking down.
Nice.
Yeah, you got lucky.
That's a personal achievement of mine.
Now, also in Japan, there were signs seen across several stores that were selling the Xbox One X, all stating that the stores had sold out of their stock. Now, obviously, we talked about this last week where they were struggling in the Japanese market. So this started to raise questions like, did they finally make it? What was noted, however, is that these stores had only sold out of their pre-orders, not the actual consoles themselves. Now, the launch of the console had taken place on the same day in Japan as it did in North America. However, the draw seemed to be lacking in Japan, as one Twitter user joked with an empty photo in front of a bigger retailer saying, "I can't see the end of the line," and yet there was no line. It was also reported that many of the major retailers in Japan had no plans to offer the console on launch day and only focus on the pre-orders. So that's a little bizarre tactic on their end. But again, I think this harkens back to what we talked about last week, where they don't really have a Japanese market.
No, they've never spent the times to have the Japanese games.
Yeah,
that's how you get them.
I kind of feel like that was their tactic on that. Is just to see, let's see how the pre-orders go, and then we'll worry about putting them on the shelves later, something like that.
And then make it sound like that there's a rush for them.
Yeah.
We're all sold out.
Oh, we're all sold out. I mean, it could be a good tactic.
Yeah, that's probably a hard market to crack, though, really, because they're like very specific on the sort of games they play. Yeah. I like to think of it that way, anyway.
And I think also being an American console going overseas, because Sony and Nintendo, they already have that. They're in house. They're
in house, yeah. But at the same time, they're over there. They come over here and they cater to the Western people too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like Sony, I can think of a bunch of games that are like Japanese studios off the top of my head, straight away. Dark Souls, you got Neo. There was like another weird one that's been advertised over here, like Codename Vein. They're bringing out. I feel like they've got a better for their culture, a lot more titles that they would prefer to like go in shops and buy. So yeah, I can understand that.
And I even know that there are some games that they feel won't translate well over overseas, and they're a little hesitant to bring them over. I know that a few games that I've thought about that they've been worried about, they held off and they were just like, well, I don't know, and then they eventually do bring it overseas and it does well. They've got to give themselves a little bit more credit to their American audience or whomever. Just to assume that it's not going to go over well doesn't necessarily mean it won't. And I think that's what Microsoft needs to realize, is that they can make that happen. They just have to believe that it can work.
I think going back to what you just said, not that it doesn't translate well over here. I think that the studio just says, we're not going to take the time and add the English voices and do all that part. Maybe that's what it is. But then you don't have that region lock anymore. So you could easily get that game and play it here.
And see, they shouldn't really have to worry about that too much, because we'll take Xenoblade Chronicles, for example. When that came out, it was never localized for North America. The version that we had was actually the EU version of the game that just got ported over.
Right.
But it was still fine. I didn't feel like the game was not catered to me at all. I felt like it kind of gave it its own flavor, because they weren't these punk American kids. They had this, their accents were very British, and it just, I don't know, it worked for me in that way.
Let's be honest, a British accent is cool.
They are. So, Jyinx, I mean, you're double nailing it, not only with the accent, but with the tenor.
Man, a lot of people take the piss.
I am so far, the UK is like 3 for 3. Like, all the music that comes from there, like, all my favorite bands, like, if they're cool, they usually come from the UK. And we've had Mammoth and you from the UK. Y'all are 2 for 2.
I mean, well, everything is well refined over here. Yeah. Let's just put it that way.
That's just my theory, is that if it comes from the UK, it's usually cool.
I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
I agree with that. No complaints.
And now the last story I have surrounding Microsoft is that they announced a plan to increase investment in developing in-house video games.
That's what they need to do.
Either by acquiring or even starting studios to do so. Phil Spencer made a statement saying that we need to grow, and I look forward to doing that. Our ability to create content has been one of our many strengths. We haven't always invested at the same level, and we've gone through ups and downs in the investment. Now, this comes as no surprise to some of their best-selling games have been self-published, like Halo, Gears of War. However, they have scaled back in recent years and even shut down 2 studios, which were Lionhead and Press Play.
I don't know why you shut down Lionhead.
No, what did they...
Fable.
Oh, really?
Did they make, what is it, that God game, Lion's Head?
Yeah,
or
Fable.
am I thinking of a different one?
They make Fable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know why. That was one of your big franchises coming out of...
I'd always heard that.
Yeah, like I think I played Fable 2 on the 360 when I finally bought one, and I wasn't disappointed. It was a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they shut it down.
Did they not sell well?
I don't care. Like, at the same time,
I think they, like, the trend is, I see anyway, is like, what if one of the games, like one game in a series, like 3 or 4 does like terrible, that's it. They'll just cut funding and make something new, pretty much.
And see,
that's what I feel like anyway.
And they're eager to do that. I've noticed.
I know. Sony will do that, but like,
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's all about the dollars, man.
Yeah, and I can understand, like if you put like what was it, Guerrilla Games, Guerrilla Cambridge.
Yeah,
they made The
Kill Switch?
Yeah, Cambridge, Guerrilla Games, Cambridge. They shut those guys down. Probably about 5 months ago, I think. After they made Rigs, and Rigs didn't sell good, but at the same time, you're putting them in a corner because you're giving them a platform that's not been adopted yet. It's a brand new platform. So, and that's a game like not everybody's gonna be able to play that game. It moves really fast, and you could probably get sick playing that game. I think if I remember right, I got like a headache.
Really? I haven't got to play it yet.
It's fun. And it works great, but some people could get motion sickness.
Yeah.
But they made the Vita version of Killzone Mercenaries. Awesome game. But then they shut them down. Now I don't know if that was the plan from the beginning. We don't know that. All we know is they shut them down. But I just think they shut them down too soon sometimes.
Yeah, they probably do.
And those guys were talented.
They've got to give them a little bit more breathing room to actually get to find their groove, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, if they've just started out and they're just not hitting it just right, give them time, you know, because I think as gamers, sometimes when we see a new studio, we're a little hesitant to give that studio, you know, a chance because we don't know them.
Right.
But once you actually get in there and you try a game and it's good, you think, oh, okay, I'll keep my eye on that one. And you just kind of go on with that. Devolver Digital was a publisher that I didn't realize who they were exactly. But now, I anytime I see their name, I'm like, well, they just like to go balls out with all their crazy games. I'm in. Let's see what they've got now.
It's kind of like Housemarque. If I see their name, I know it's going to have a high quality. It's going to be, I know the type of game it's going to be. I always want to buy it now.
Yeah. So, next story I have, Jyinx, you're going to love this. It's about EA. They purchased they purchased the gaming studio Respawn this week. The news comes just weeks after. Yeah. The news comes just weeks after the publisher shuttered Visceral Games. EA said in a press release that the deal was worth $455 million.
Boom.
And that is a number that includes cash equity and performance milestone payments. Respawn is said to receive bonuses tied to Metacritic scores for both its upcoming Star Wars games and the unannounced Titanfall 3.
So, which Respawn's they've got a Star Wars game coming out? Is that the Han Solo game?
No, that's Visceral. Visceral was supposed to have the Star Wars game. That got cancelled, and they're making a different one now.
Gotcha.
Was that
Respawn was the one that done Titanfall.
Yeah, did they move Star Wars over to Respawn, or were they just referring to?
I don't know. They didn't specify, but that does. I mean, according to that statement, it does sound likely.
Yeah, well.
So they may have rolled it over.
I like Titanfall too.
Down, yeah.
I like Titanfall. It was a great game.
The studio was founded in 2010 by Call of Duty designers Jason West and Vince Zampella. Respawn made big waves in its Xbox exclusive Titanfall back in 2014. Its follow-up was released on multiple platforms but was not met with the same impact. Early last year, EA announced that it had contracted Respawn to make a Star Wars action game in addition to the Battlefront series and what was then planned as a Star Wars action-adventure from Visceral, which has been canceled. Respawn was also developing the third Titanfall game and a virtual reality game for Oculus. Do you think this is a good or bad move for them?
Well, I mean, it's good for Respawn. You get paid. Yeah. But I've never been for... now EA owns all their IPs.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I don't know. I've never been for that. I think you try to keep your IPs in-house.
But we're talking about EA.
Yeah.
So...
That's like, oh yeah, all that story sounded like to me was just a bunch of greedy like top executives getting together and just putting money into their friends' pockets. That's what I heard basically.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Who?
I mean, that's what's plaguing the gaming industry. Personally, I feel anyway at this point.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. Now, who was actually in the process of creating that Star Wars 1313 game? Do you know which one I'm talking about? It was supposed to be like a dark, gritty...
that got canned ages ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't that another... I'm pretty sure that was Visceral as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's when Amy Hennig came from Naughty Dog to help write for that game.
Man, That's a Star Wars game that needs to be revived.
Well, yeah. I mean, Star Wars, do it right, and it's going to make you money.
Yeah.
And make it fun. Don't cheap on it. Don't make it pay to win and all that shit.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm a little...
actually think about the consumer for once instead of like the bottom line. Do you know what I mean? If you rub it, yeah.
Right. And that's where I'm a little curious about Battlefront 2 is I'm curious about the story mode. I mean, granted, the gameplay itself, a lot of what we've seen, just the battles you can do, that's insane. You know, I want to see a lot of that stuff. But I am curious about the story mode just to see what they could pull off.
Well, you know what it's going to... I guess the time period in the story is, right?
Yeah, they're finally going past Jedi, which is actually a smart move.
From what it seems like is like you're actually on the planet when the Death Star blows up. You see it blow up.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So, I'm eager to see it, and it's supposed to be canon.
What was it, the Ewoks, yeah. I do like that aspect.
Yeah.
Is it Endor? Is that what they're on?
Yeah, Endor. Yeah. The forest moon of Endor. All right, the next story I have, not the second, it's the third. Telltale Games announced that 25% of its staff has been laid off in a company-wide restructure.
Boom.
The reduction affects 90 staffers across all of Telltale's divisions, but are, according to a press release, not going to affect Telltale's already announced slate of games, which include the new seasons of The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us. They said, quote, the decision is designed to make the company a leader in player-driven narrative games more competitive as the developer and a publisher of groundbreaking story-driven gaming experiences with emphasis on high quality in years ahead. They elaborated that the goal of this restructure will be to produce fewer, better games with a smaller team.
That is how I feel. I think they've just kind of, I don't know, cluttered up the place with all the, the rights they've got to all these games, and they just keep churning them out.
There was a time where it was, they had, one game a year, if that, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we got Game of Thrones, oh, we got Batman, oh, we got Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they just kind of slammed the market, and it was like, whoa, slow down, guy.
Yeah, it's like they needed to take a year off and redo their engine and fix the crappiness of what was going on sometimes.
They need a new engine. And I mean, here lately, they've been pretty good.
It's been better.
It could be better.
Yeah.
They've got some tweaks they need to work out. Have you ever played any of the Telltale games, Jyinx?
I bought The Walking Dead. I played 5 minutes and died at the very first bit, I'm pretty sure, and I got attacked by a zombie, and I was like, yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to bother learning this game now. I'll come back to it later on. And that was the last time we ever heard of that game being launched on my PC.
Fair enough.
Hey, in all fairness, though, you need to give it a shot. That first season, the first two are awesome.
I do. I've got it. I've heard good things. So.
There's just so many games to play, though. There's with so many. I'm like, I'm going to come back and play this, and then I do something else, and then there's another one out.
If you ever look at my Steam list, I've got like 300 games. I've played probably about 10% of those games.
Yeah.
Like past the 5-minute mark. So yeah.
Sounds like my PlayStation list.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's too many games anymore, I think. So we just gotta get on. Hang on.
I feel bad for anyone that's like that on their PS4 or Xbox because those games are expensive on that store.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are times you can find a good deal, but few and far between.
I'll say with the PlayStation, they tend to give discounts. Nothing like Steam, but if you're a member of the PlayStation Plus, they give you those. A lot of times, sometimes you can get 80% off.
Yeah, it just really depends.
I don't know the decent ones that you got like. They were released like 2 years prior. I feel like they were anyway. Like the ones I picked up from the PS Plus.
All right. The next story that I have comes from IO Interactive. Their CEO, Hakan Abrak, I hope I said that right, confirmed that the studio is working on a new Hitman title. In a statement, he mentioned that IO's release from Square Enix, which led to their formation as an independent studio, and how within that time they've been intentionally quiet so they could kind of refocus and decide the path that they wanted to go on their future endeavors. He mentions that the next Hitman, or mentioned that it's coming out by saying, I want to let you know that we're making great progress. We have exciting new features and some franchise firsts, which we can't wait to tell you about. You will have to wait a little bit longer, but we don't start to plan on talking about it until some point in 2018. But there will be a new Hitman. I feel like it was a fun franchise. I had a hard time getting into the new game. I don't know why, because it didn't really feel like it was... It's not a bad game.
All I can say to this is shut up and take my money. I love Hitman.
Yeah, I played... I think the very first one I really played was Absolution, and I got sucked in like immediately.
That's the one we both played, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on the last one on the
PlayStation. Is that the first one you played?
That was the first one I played. I'd heard of the franchise, but I'd never gotten into it.
I played the other one.
Or I'd never had it presented to me. And then this one, I think it was wasn't it a free game?
Yeah, it was on PlayStation
And
Plus.
I thought, okay, well, I'll give this a shot. And I got sucked in. I loved it.
They're all like that. I think they kind of refined the stuff that was wrong, but they're all that fun.
Yeah.
The freedom that you had to kind of plan out everything.
That's what I loved about it the most. And, I got the seasoned chapters, or however they did it on the last game. I've played it. I've got it, and I played through it a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know why it's taking... I've just not gotten into it like I did the last one. I don't know why.
I don't like the episodes. I wish they would have just made a game.
And that might be what it
and
is.
been done with it,
But it's still fun.
So my thing with Absolution out of the whole Hitman series is they really went a different way with like how the game played out. I feel that was more like a story-based game, if I'm not mistaken.
The episode
to,
version,
stuff like Blood Money and 2. The new one's more like the original games.
Yeah,
where you just get that set level, you plan it out how you want to, take on that level for that playthrough. Absolution, I don't know. It was weird. I didn't really enjoy Absolution as much as I enjoyed like Blood Money or something like that.
Well, it was probably I'd probably say a lot of the reason that I enjoyed it so much was that it was a new experience for me, and I didn't have the other games to kind of base it off of. So just the idea of what I was doing, and that there were multiple ways to go about it, that was a new experience for me. So that's probably why I had fond memories of it. And I was so close to platinuming that game too, and it was just something so simple. And I was just
right there. What'd you have to do?
I think there were files you had to find per level, and I missed a few, and I was just like, I don't want to go back and find these. And then I had to go and replay all the missions on hard, and that was another thing that was just like, I don't know. I
hate that. I hate when they throw that in there.
Yeah. So,
just when in doubt, just start mowing through the crowd to get to your target. Like, trust me. Or it never fails. Complete a level that way.
Right. The next story I have comes from Take-Two Interactive. Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of the company, said that they were aiming to offer what he calls recurrent consumer spending opportunities, which in my mind translates to microtransactions.
That's exactly what it is.
In all of its future games. Now they are the publishers of Grand Theft Auto 5 and the NBA 2K series. They mentioned in a recent investors call that microtransactions accounted for 42% of their earnings last quarter.
God damn.
And calls such numbers a transformative change in the business. Now, what I find interesting about these numbers, this actually backs up a claim that we reported on a few weeks ago about those complaining about microtransactions are in the minority. Because if they just cut almost close to 50% of their profits in microtransactions, then apparently people are using them. You can't say that. I mean, obviously we're going to complain, but they have to be in the minority, of complaints, because people are doing them. People are using them. 42% of revenue is high.
That is almost half.
Yeah. So that's insane.
So, like, how we can fix this, guys, and, like, hear me out, just bear with me for this, is any time you want to spend any money on a microtransactions, I want you to go to www.twitch.tv/JyinxTV and just donate it to me instead. I'll spend it a lot more wiser than you guys would like. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, we could definitely start that campaign. We'll just look, you'll get so much more for your money right here.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. There you go.
I mean, when it comes to microtransactions, it really depends on what it is that I'm going to plop down money. Because you talk about skins or characters, that's an easy buy, especially if it's somebody you want.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and they sucker you sometimes, man. I mean,
see, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, but you're just opening the door like this. Like it's even said, like you said it in the numbers there. 42% of people, or their revenue comes from microtransactions. You're now opening the door for them to exploit us, the customers.
Right,
exactly.
Versus like these little things to do with characters and cosmetics. Then you're going to be forced to pay to, I don't know, advance a level or whatever. Just like know the mentality of corporations nowadays. Like you can see it like rampant in like our little part of the world in gaming. It's open to abuse now. Like that's just giving more of an excuse to push the bar further, in my opinion.
That's what I've been afraid of.
And depending on what it is, how they market it to you can sometimes just seem so appealing. Season passes are an easy thing that you can just look at and be like, okay, yeah, I'll plop down $30 and I'll just get all that content. But when you really break it down, is it worth all that money that you spent?
Yeah, see, I think they ought to have to show you what they're going to do.
There's a huge difference, I feel, between DLC and microtransactions. I feel there is a huge difference because, to me, microtransactions are these little things you spend like one or two like loot boxes or whatever in game. The season pass is more DLC content, or you get what I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like a pre-order for the downloadable content.
Right. Now buying loot boxes, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. I refuse.
No.
Because if it's something I can earn in the game and I just have to work for it, why not? I mean, they give you these easy outs. When we saw the frustration everyone got with the easy fatalities on Mortal Kombat X when they did that, and people were like, well, I have to buy tokens. You don't have to. If you just want a cheap, easy way to kill somebody at the end of the fight, then fine, you can do that. But you don't have to.
And couldn't you earn them earn tokens by going into that graveyard?
Yeah.
So just go do stuff and get points and go in there and get them.
And you can do them. It's not like you can't do them. So microtransactions like that, it's silly that they're there.
Right.
But at the same time, that's your stupidity if you have to do that.
And if you want to, that's fine. I mean, but you don't have
they're
to.
there.
You don't have to.
Let's be real. They're targeting those kids with their parents' credit.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
let's not beat around the bush, guys.
That's right. That's what it is.
And that was a good argument. I think Kinsey made that when she was on. That's who they're really targeting are the children. The kids who just think easy, because for them that's what they want to do. They're always looking for the easy road. Kids are like that. So you're spot on. Yeah, I mean that's where it hits. And if the parents aren't paying attention, and they've got it set up in some sort of account, the kid can just buy whatever they want and never be the wiser.
Nope. Especially when you're buying $1 here and $1 there.
I was always like one of them mischievous childs, like when I was younger. So like me, like sitting in front of my TV for 5 hours, being quiet, playing my video game was like heaven for my mum at sometimes. So like that's the mentality of most kids nowadays. Their kids are like that, and parents are like that as well. So I don't know. It's just like if you can spend a little bit of like this little bit of pocket change and to keep your kid quiet, like it's a cop out really.
Yeah.
All right, next story I have comes from the SAG-AFTRA community, which that's normally movies and stuff like that, which we don't normally talk about. But I feel like this was important information. There was actually a strike going on. Within that community for video game rights, and I guess more for
voice acting.
For voice actors. They're trying to get a little bit more out of that. There was a vote held within the SAG-AFTRA community to approve the successor in the interactive media video game agreement, and it passed at 90% to a 10% margin. The National Board unanimously approved the tentative agreement on October 9th, 2017, ending the strike against 11 video game companies that began on October 21st, 2016. Now, for those who don't know, the SAG-AFTRA is an American labor union representing approximately 160,000 film and television actors, journalists, radio personalities, recording artists, singers, voice actors, and other media professionals worldwide. Now, this deal is meant to streamline the work of their members within the video game industry, including significant improvements in the area of transparency and a new payment structure that will ensure members are compensated fairly for their work. The terms of this agreement include a new bonus structure that provide additional payments to performers based on numbers of sessions worked. The bonus payments, which are due no later than the release of the game, begin an additional $75 payment on the first session, totaling $2,100 after 10 sessions worked. The deal also contains new transparency provisions that will enhance the bargaining power of members' representatives by requiring companies to disclose the codename of a project, its genre, or whether the game is based on previously published intellectual properties, and whether or not the performer is reprising a prior role. Members are also protected by the disclosure of whether they will be required to use unusual terminology, profanity, or racial slurs, whether or not the content of a sexual or violent nature, and whether stunts will be required. This agreement will becomes effective November 8th, which is already passed, and expires on November 7th of 2020. The National Board unanimously approved the tentative agreement on October 9th, ending the strike. So that's good, I guess.
I guess.
I mean, good. Good for them. They've got to work.
I think probably a big thing for them was
how much did he earn? How much the voice actors earn then, like a game or whatever, before it's like released? Obviously, how much are they paid?
They really didn't specify it. I mean, other than they said they'll begin with $75 payments for the first session, and eventually, after 10 sessions worked, earn about $2,100. Right. So depending on...
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, and there's no telling how long the sessions are. They could be a couple of hours. They could be, a long day.
Well, I think that they were probably not getting paid until after they started making, how some companies, though, like, this is when we'll give you the money then. Mm-hmm. When we get our money, we'll give you the money kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's probably when they were getting paid, and that was probably not fair to them.
That sounds probably spot on, considering they said they have to get paid before the game's release. So no later than that. So good for them. They
Yay.
Justice with actors and voices.
Yay!
Because obviously games are not as good as they can be without some of the voice actors that we have. So,
I'm okay with silent films.
They are good.
I'm just kidding. I want voice acting.
Did they ever do voice acting in the new Zelda game? Because I know that was one of those games that just...
I can't remember.
Stuck with mute.
I feel like I remember somebody that played it saying, that they did have it, but they still had the text. The text, but at the same time, I think I remember saying they stuck with the text because they didn't want to leave that part.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I can't remember.
Huh. We'll have to look into that. I'm curious now. Because, that's a game that need to get with the times.
Yes.
All right, next story I have is a new game launched on Steam Early Access for the HTC Vive called Castaway. The game was created by MC Games and is an open-world sandbox survival experience.
You got Tom Hanks in it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I saw. Where you play as a scholar sent to an island to fully disconnect from the modern world. On the island, players will have to mine, gather, cut down trees, hunt animals, swim, craft tools, and build weapons, build homes, ride horseback, deal with barbarians, and much, much more. The early access version of the game will feature all the elements, plus day and night circles where you can only sleep at night, and a hunger and health system which needs to be monitored or else you will die. Early access is expected to last around 6 months, after which a fully released version will come out and feature a full range of Steam achievements, online multiplayer system, new islands, and a night event such as wolf herd attacks.
Wolf herd attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be wolf pack?
Well, they said wolf herd. I should have changed that to packs. Wolf pack attacks.
What game's this? Sorry, I missed.
It's called Castaway. It's a VR game on Steam to play it on the HTC Vive. And I dig VR. I think it's a cool concept. I'm not really sure which one rules the market right now because you never really hear who's the top.
I would say probably the PSVR.
I was thinking about getting one, so I did decide to like dive in and look at some information. At the minute, it's not really. They've both got their ups and downs, which kind of like brings them to a balance. I can see Vive pushing it out there eventually.
Yeah.
But my problem with VR, from what I've seen, is like the freedom of movement in games.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is you're limited to like pressing a button to teleport to a certain location. I've seen in a lot of games, and that's just like a cop out in my opinion.
Yeah.
When I think like VR, I'm walking around like a world, like a whole entire world or something like that. And it's not really like that.
Yeah, I wanna be a little disconnected. Like the PSVR, it's got you connected to some wires and things like that. And you've got a good reach, but you're still plugged in somewhere. Yeah. So sometimes you can kind of get a little tangled. Not often, but it can happen. It really depends. And certain games that you're playing, like playing Super Hot, that's a game that I've probably moved more than I have in most games because you're just so active. So you're moving around, and next thing you know, you're bumping into something and you didn't even realize it. Those are the type of games that I enjoy as far as VR is concerned. That you're really getting into it.
I don't know if you've seen that Player One movie trailer, but that's what I'm waiting for.
Oh, yeah. That would be it. Oh, yeah. Speaking of VR, Sony released a digital version of their new demo disc for the PSVR, which came out with the new updated version of their VR, which actually came out in Europe and North America. Quietly, it just kind of released. And I think they did say that they were going to do that. They were going to make a big announcement about it. They're just going to be like, it's out there now.
Yeah, and they did that with a lot of their stuff. You just kind of hear about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a list of the demos that they included on the disc, which I thought I would kind of run through, see if there were any games that sounded interesting.
Tell us.
The first is Battlezone. I'm not familiar with that.
It's a tank game. It's pretty good.
Dino Frontier.
Don't know.
Sounds cool.
It's got dinosaurs.
Eve Valkyrie.
That's already owned one of them.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything.
I've given up on Eve, anything outside of Eve Online, like related to the universe.
The next one was Fantastic Contraption, which for some reason makes me think of Mousetrap. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just sounds like that.
Sounds like fun.
Job Simulator.
Ooh, they got that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play that.
What is that?
It's a job simulator. It's like I think robots have taken over.
Mm-hmm.
And these jobs, there's like in a museum, and you can go and do the jobs, I guess, if I remember right. And you play like one of the robots, I guess.
I would hope that it's not just like a real job, because I don't want to do my job.
No, it is. It's kind of like that. You sit in a cubicle and you do these little things like while you're in there. And then I think some of them's like, I could be getting mixed up, but I think one of them's like you make burgers somewhere.
They'll simulate anything in the game nowadays.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about, what was it, Cow Milking last week. What kind of hell is that, man? The next game is Moss, which I actually am looking forward to trying out. Just from a demo perspective, I want to check it out, but it does look like a really fun game.
Hey, this looks beautiful, too.
Say that again? What was the game?
It's called Moss. I guess the character's name is Moss. It's a
little mouse.
Yeah, it's like a little mouse, and it kind of looks like a platformer in a way.
Yeah,
but
it does. Looks
in
like
VR, which that's cool.
Oh, that's do you know what I've seen? I think it's PS4 as well. That's a VR game with the mech one. That's kind of like a.
No, that was
like a. What is it? It's Monday Night Combat or whatever game.
Oh, Rigs.
Yeah, Rigs.
Yeah, Rigs. There you go.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
The next one is Raw Data.
Never heard of it.
I don't know what that is.
That's on Steam. That's on Steam as well. The Vive Raw Data. I'm pretty sure.
I have to look that one up. Res Infinite. That sounds familiar.
I've heard of it. I haven't played it. It's the kind of like the shooter game. Like, not a shooter. I don't know. It reminds me of like old Star Fox. Like you're kind of behind, you're flying down like that, and you shoot all the stuff. It's kind of cool. A lot of people like it.
That could be cool. Star Child, which again, for some reason, that sounds familiar too.
Yeah, I think it's a newer game though.
But I don't know anything about it.
That's the demo. Can't remember exactly what it looks like.
Star Blood Arena. Don't know it. The Persistence doesn't sound all that appealing. Thumper.
No, that one's kind of cool.
Is it?
It's on the first demo disc too, though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I must not have looked over the demo disc.
Maybe not. I don't know.
And the last one is Tiny Tracks, which I don't know what that is. Sounds like trains. I don't know.
Possibly.
Or tanks. Tiny tanks making
Could be
tiny
that.
tracks.
Could be.
Could be.
Or there could be little bitty animals making tracks, and you got to follow them.
Very true.
Who knows?
Sony also released an updated version of their mobile app, which streamlined many of their features and adds additional features not seen in the app. I kind of felt like, I think I had said it to you, kind of feels like a Facebook app now.
Yeah.
But I do dig the new design. The interface is good.
Yeah.
Because everything's just accessible in a way.
It's I don't know. It's like you can get to everything a lot easier.
Yeah.
Too.
So I kind of like it. You know, it was just unexpected. The next story that I have, which I thought was, I had to debate on whether or not I wanted to put this in the weird news section or not, but it just seemed too interesting to classify as weird news. There's an indie developer called Megacat Studios, and they developed an 8-bit recreation of Nintendo's Punch-Out, but with a horror twist.
Oh, what, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of fighting a slew of eccentric heavyweight fighters in the ring, this game pits you against aliens, knife-wielding maniacs, and a hockey mask-wearing giant. Obviously, these are
my money already.
Yeah, these are obvious recreations of well-known horror icons that you'll see. Now, if this interests you at all, you're actually willing to shell out about $60 and have a working Nintendo, you can grab a copy of this uniquely gimmicky NES game right now by heading over to their website. They actually are selling Nintendo cartridges, like fully redesigned Nintendo cartridges. So I thought that was it's definitely different, you know, because I expected to see this maybe on Steam or just some other site. You have to buy the cartridge. So
is that it comes out with that new little SNES thing they came out with, right? Is that the?
I do believe so. Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Now, this isn't the first time that this studio has actually done this. In fact, they released a game called Coffee Crisis on the Sega Genesis, which actually was crowdfunded. And they also have a few other NES titles that they've released called Justice Duel, Expedition, and Little Medusa. I mean, that's pretty cool that you're kind of keeping an old console alive with new releases. I mean, that's...
Oh, man, I've got fond memories of my Sega Mega. I still got it in my loft.
No kidding.
Enough. I might have to break it out and like do what is it, screen capture of like me playing Streets of Rage. Oh, I do love that game.
No, yeah. I mean, if I still had an old NES, I actually have a Wii that's it's hacked, but it's got a few emulators on it. It works. I mean, it does the job. It's not the same in a manner of speaking, but it does the job. When I have to have that fix, I guess I should go out and buy an NES Mini Classic, but they don't have all the games I want.
You don't need it.
I don't need it. I really don't. It's just nostalgia, you know. It does that to you. And Nintendo's good.
It is that exactly as well. Yeah, nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that does sound pretty cool. Just you could probably find a trailer for it on YouTube called Creepy Brawlers. Check it out. It's pretty interesting.
And I have a working Nintendo.
You do. Mm-hmm. Go get $60, buy this game, and we'll play it.
$60.
It's a real Nintendo game.
So they used to cost $30.
So this is a new game. Inflation, man. The next story I have is a little tidbit. Developer Bluehole announced that the much anticipated vaulting and climbing features for PUBG have been delayed. This comes after a delay test server, or let me try that again. This comes after a delay in the test servers for the new features were screwed up by unexpected issues. The vaulting and climbing features are supposed to roll out in November and have been reported by PC Gamer as a work in progress, but a great feature. Now, Jyinx, you play PUBG, right?
So I'm guessing the unexpected issue is everyone that voted rocketed up into the sky and fell down to their death.
Probably.
I'm just guessing.
That would be amusing to see.
Yeah, that seems a little bit game breaking.
Right.
I think the first time I seen Jyinx, he was playing PUBG with Wicked Beth.
Yeah, I've had some good games with Bear.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that this game needs a vaulting and jumping
Oh,
addition?
hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I didn't even know they were doing this. I just like log on, play, and kill people. But yeah, it would be nice to like because the way it's done now, it's just horrible. You can't takes me like a minute to jump over a small gap. You should be like easily be able to climb over.
Right.
And it seems like a nice feature. And they're also doing a new map as well, like a desert map,
Oh, okay.
which seems pretty legit.
Cool,
Should be fun.
All right. Next story I have. This is kind of an update a little bit on one we've kind of mentioned in the past. Now, keep in mind, this is still a rumor. I just want to clarify to all of our listeners out there, we're not verifying anything.
Yes,
but
we
if
are.
we are, then we just broke it here first. But we're not going to say that. It's a rumor.
Let's pretend like we're breaking it.
Well, it's a rumor as of now.
Even if it's not true, we'll just say it's real. Just to make
That's
it
right.
cool.
Now,
Right.
when it does break,
okay.
when it does break, then we can say, hey, Super Mega Crash Brothers, we announced it here first. We were right there on the scene when it happened.
Yeah, that's right.
We reported a few weeks back about rumors surrounding the potential for an N64 Mini Classic. Apparently, a Reddit user discovered something that could point to the possibility even more. On the Nintendo UK website, there is a list of 19 online game manuals for the N64. This number would be close to the amount of games seen on previous mini consoles, and if you look at the list, it's not a surprising choice of games that would be on a mini console. Would you like to hear the list of games
Yes.
that they found?
Yes.
Okay. Because to me, I know we've discussed what we'd love to see on the NES or the N64 Mini Classic, but this sounds like a list of games that would definitely be on this console. 1080 Snowboarding, which I never played, but I remember it. Bomberman 64, Donkey Kong 64, Excitebike 64, F-Zero X, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Mario Golf, Mario Kart 64, Mario Party 2, Mario Tennis, Paper Mario, Pokemon Snap, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Wave Race 64, and Yoshi's Story. That seems like a legit list of games that would be
Yes.
on that console.
Plus the Zelda games Majora's Mask was awesome.
Yes.
Ocarina of Time was awesome.
Oh yeah, it's a solid lineup, but at the same time, I don't know if I would plop down the money because I don't see anything on there that's a must. Like I have to have that game because I've played these games 100 times over and I've gotten them on other consoles and I just don't know if it's worth it to me. So I don't know.
If you already have it, then
I
no.
don't know. The game industry's running out of ideas. Is basically what they're telling us.
Yeah. Now see if they put something on here that would be hard to find, like they did with the Super NES Classic. What was it? The Star Fox 2?
Yeah.
Because that was an unreleased game.
Yeah.
Cool. Give me a game on here that I couldn't find anywhere else or it's hard to find. You might sell me. Like a game I'll talk about later. But we'll get into that.
That's your retro review.
That is our retro review. We'll get into that
Sweet.
later.
I'm excited.
That's the end of the news. So guess what time it is now?
Is this weird news?
It is weird news.
Yay.
I only have one little bit of weird news.
That's all
this
we
week,
need.
But I found it interesting. I was like, what the hell is this? But I guess I can see the appeal of it. It's strange to me. Bethesda has released a line of candles that will add an olfactory element to your VR experience with Fallout VR and Skyrim VR. The Skyrim candle is said to produce a...
No, like dragon dung.
They say a
Sorry,
forest
okay.
of Skyrim scent. So I'm going to assume pine. I don't know. That would be my first
I'm going with him, Dragon Crap.
dragon dung.
Yeah, bear and troll poo. Like, yeah.
But
Simulate you stepping into it, yeah. Oh, God, what's this on the bottom of my shoe?
Now, as far as that goes, I mean, just saying the forest of Skyrim, I'm going to assume, okay, that'll be fine. The Fallout one, on the other hand, is the one, the description is just like, what the hell is that? The Fallout candle is said to produce a refreshing nuclear decay scent. I don't know how nuclear decay can smell refreshing. I just think of nuclear waste and it's just stank.
100% safe. Like, friendly, good, healthy for your body. Trust me, guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, what is that? What does it smell?
I would never light that candle.
I'm curious.
No, I can present that. I can make that smell on my own.
Family Guy. I had that scene in Family Guy with a 4D simulator where you have the smell mask on.
Yeah.
I think that was Family Guy, or is it South Park? One of the two.
Might have been South Park. But I don't know. The forest one sounds like it could be okay. A decaying scent just doesn't sound appealing at all.
No.
So
I mean, what's wrong with decaying scents, guys? Like, I'll go on that.
I guess I'm a little old fashioned.
Without playing Fallout 4. Just saying.
I can make that smell on my own.
Yeah. Just give me some beans, man. Okay. Well, if anybody out there buys one and I know you, please let me come over and just experience it for a brief moment.
Or just send it to us.
Yeah. Yeah, anybody out there wants to be nice enough to give us a candle. Now, granted, these candles can last up to 25 hours of burn time, and they are available now.
Where can we get them?
I don't know. Check Amazon. Why not? They're not a sponsor, but hey, go check them out.
They need to be.
They're out there, or go to their website. Who knows? They could be selling them anywhere.
We definitely use it on like a first date. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, it's like, hey baby, check out this decay scent. You don't know where you're at. All right. Well, now we're gonna
know where you're at.
Yeah. Close your eyes, baby. Smell that.
What's that smell like? My ass.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna move on to release dates. We have a handful of release dates. It's not as heavy as we have been in the past. I think the last couple of
Anything
weeks.
on Star Citizen 3.0?
Say again?
Anything on Star Citizen 3.0 on there?
Not that I see. And
no, not interested.
I have to let everyone know, as usual, release dates are subject to change, and there are changes abound. I'm trying to always make a very comprehensive list of these release dates, and if I miss anything, I'm sorry. I can only do so much. I try. I look everywhere. But again, it's a very small list. On November 14th, which is Tuesday, tomorrow for all of you listening on Monday, we have L.A. Noire Remastered for the PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. I'm looking forward to that. Have you guys seen some of the new footage for that?
What was
Any of it for L.A. Noire?
Oh, no, I haven't seen the footage.
No.
Now, I got to see, while we're on that subject, the VR, I think it was for HTC Vive, got delayed to December. It was supposed to come out as well. But I did get to see like some footage from that. And do you remember when you played that game how realistic the faces looked? That it was just uncanny.
Right.
How well they did with that.
You could see every little movement.
Yeah. It's like they enhanced that threefold.
Damn.
Like you just could not see any of the imperfections on the design style that they used.
Right.
And it was just like you were looking there talking to a dude in VR. Granted, this is just from a video perspective, so I can't even imagine what it looks like in VR, but it was impressive. Just from watching a video, I was impressed. So if you get a chance, look up LA Noire VR HTC Vive video clip. Just to see what it looks like, because it was amazing. We also have Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. I'm looking forward to that because I'm a sucker for that. Demon Gaze 2 for PS4 and PS Vita. What is Demon Gaze 2? Have you ever heard of
Don't have
that?
a clue.
I don't have a clue either.
It's where a demon looks at you
and just stares at you for 2 hours. That's why it's Demon Gaze 2.
Yeah, two demons.
Two demons.
Two demons.
2 Demon Gaze.
Yeah.
Rhyme comes out for Nintendo Switch. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Is it a fantasy game?
It looked... Oh, how to explain it? I can't even...
What was it called, sorry?
Rhyme. Rime. It sounds familiar, but
It was supposed to be a launch title for the PS4, and it was made by Tequila Works.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, I think Sony was actually the owner of the title, and I think it went back and forth, and they actually sold the rights to Tequila Works, and then Tequila Works kind of went out on their own.
Okay.
That's why it kind of hung out for a long time.
Gotcha. The last game for November 14th is Telltale's Batman Season 1, which comes out on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's the full season.
They're a little bit behind.
Yeah, they're getting it on their little card or whatever. I don't know what that is.
Their card?
Yeah, it's like a game card. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Mm-mm.
Like reach up there. There's a little game card. No, to the left. To the left. Yeah, right there. That's apparently about what their Nintendo Switch cartridges are.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's their cartridge. And
well, that's for something else, but
that's for it says it right there, the 3DS.
Yeah, but that's similar to what the Switch games are.
I think it's actually smaller than that, isn't it?
They might be. I don't know. I've never touched one. I've never looked at it. But it's it's amazing that they just went and said, you know what? Screw discs. We're going back to cartridges.
Yeah, I
They've always
guess they
loved
did
their
that because of
cartridges.
the portable aspect of the thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm guessing.
I guess so. On November 17th, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon comes out for the 3DS. And also Star Wars Battlefront II for PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Comes out November 17th.
November 17th.
It's a big day.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big day.
And anyone listening, don't forget, you can enter for a chance to win. And come join Jyinx on November 17th on his channel to witness some gameplay. And
so you're going to be playing Battlefront 2 that day?
Of, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Do not tune into my channel.
If you just want to have fun, come on in and watch the insanity ensue. And you'll also have a chance to win a game.
Keyword there, insanity, yeah.
That's right. And we'll also post a link in our descriptions where you can sign up for the Gleam if you haven't already. On November 20th is Battle Chef Brigade. Why can't I say that? Brigade. There we go. I got it. Battle Chef Brigade for Nintendo Switch and PC. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
I don't know. It doesn't sound... well, it just sounds weird. Sounds like I'm fighting as a chef.
It doesn't sound fun.
No. It sounds silly. And it's coming out for the Nintendo Switch.
That's why.
I just took a jab. I love Nintendo, sort of. You've kind of broken my heart.
But it seems like they're starting to load it down with crap now.
Well, we'll see. Like you said, they're still playing catch-up. They're trying to get all these other games onto their system that everybody else has had for years, and it's just like, dude, just stop.
Well, just like graphics, like the hardware-wise, they've been behind for ages now.
Yes.
Yeah, and they don't seem to understand that they have a potential to step it up, and they just continue back.
No, they stay gimmicky. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's not gimmicky. I mean, the Switch is.
But don't get me wrong. There are games out there on their original IPs are no doubt good. I've heard nothing but good things about Zelda. I've heard nothing good things about Super Mario Odyssey. But what else do you have? You're surviving on your IPs alone.
Yeah.
And you're not giving anybody a reason to buy your system for third-party games.
No.
Because you can
especially when you taking YouTubers to court for
oh god,
playing your game and showing other people, yeah.
Silly.
Yeah. Oh, you can't play our game unless we're getting a cut of this money.
So stupid. Yeah. We already gave you a cut of the money when I bought the game.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, well now we're going to move on to our retro review. Da-da-da. Are y'all excited about the retro review?
I kind of am. I don't know what it is.
Okay. Well, we're going back to the N64 since we mentioned that earlier. Jyinx, did you have an N64 by chance?
Of course I did.
Awesome. Todd, did you?
Yes.
All right, good.
I got it later on.
So I'm kind of hoping that you guys know what this game is. Because when I talk about it, this is probably one of my all-time favorite N64 games. And you may have remembered me talking about it. So 16 years ago, the N64 saw the release of the most raw and controversial Nintendo game ever released. Got any idea?
Mortal Kombat.
That game was Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this.
Oh my god, that is an awesome game.
This game was developed by Rare when I feel like they were at the top of their game. and it was presented with a very Disney-esque art style on a Nintendo console, no less, and it pushed the limits of what a mature rating can do at the time, which I feel was also teetering the line of adults-only territory. Now, much like South Park, at the time it was breaking new ground, but in hindsight, it can really be considered much more tame by today's standard if it was released today.
Right.
Because they did kind of censor it down a little bit. Now, the game follows our protagonist, Conker the Squirrel, who is out all night with his pals on a bender. He wakes up in the middle of a cornfield with a massive hangover and a strong desire to go home and get some sleep. But along the way, he gets dragged into helping other characters within that world in what can only be described as completely absurd situations. An example is a king bee who got kicked out of his queen bee hive, wanting to win the heart, or as he likes to put it, pollinate a big-breasted sunflower. Now, if you've never seen a sunflower with big gazongas, you will after this. Even Conker realizes how ridiculous that is by commenting, what are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, they're massive. And she even, after you get it, she asks you if you want to go for a bounce.
Did you go?
Yes, you have to go for a bounce. You have to do that.
I would motorboat the hell out of them.
You also make a cow defecate into a giant grate so that a dung beetle can create a large ball of poo for you.
That's real life.
Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah.
You have to give the cow prune juice to clear it out.
My wife might be part dung beetle.
You think so?
She likes it when I do that.
Okay. That's weird. And you also join the army to fight a very nasty slew of Nazi teddy bears, because why wouldn't you? Of course, obviously they're not Nazis, but they might as well be.
Oh, they would censor that today.
You're just convincing me that we need another Conker game now.
We do, man.
No, we don't, because Xbox would make it. Microsoft would make it.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit after I get into it. You'll also find...
You bring up a fair point.
Right. You also find and collect wads of cash that actually talk to you and sound like soprano rejects. There was, like, when you go to find these little wads of cash, one example, when you have to bounce on the big-breasted sunflower, is to get a wad of cash. And when you get up there, he's like, hey, pick me up, you greedy bastard. So you just pick him up, shove him in your pocket.
Nice.
So it's fun little things like that make it fun. Now, when this game came out, it was unlike anything I had ever seen. It played like a typical 3D platformer of that area, which was most appealing to me, was the constant barrage of meta jokes, fourth wall breaks, and pop culture references. One of the first meta jokes was trying to help you understand the use of context-sensitive pads in the game. Once you go through this tutorial, Conker comment,
it would seem to me that these give me just what I need at that moment in time. Oh, I see what he means. Context sensitive.
The game was essentially a set piece for so many references. Some are blatantly obvious, some are much more subtle. Some of the examples of the blatant are Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Matrix, Alien, and Bram Stoker's Dracula. And if you can think about that, some of the more common, overly used, tropes of those movies, you can probably guess what you see. I think Raiders, you've got the boulder chasing you.
Right.
Matrix, you just decked up in the get-up and you do the slow motion movements. Alien, they use the scene at the end of Aliens, actually, where they get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah.
And you're in the machine. Now, some of the lesser-known references come from movies like A Clockwork Orange, which the opening of the entire movie comes straight from that. Or the opening of the game, comes from the opening of that movie.
Right.
Full Metal Jacket, there were just a few,
Wow, please tell me he says... Nothing comes from Texas but steers and queers.
No, they didn't say that. At least not that I can recall. I think there were more subtle little references here and there. There was a conversation that was almost directly lifted from Blue Velvet, and there were a few little tidbits in there that were lifted from Monty Python sketches. So, those were things like that, especially when you weren't 100% sure what they were. You knew they were poking fun at something, or you knew that there was a joke there, and it just didn't come from nowhere. So that's what I loved about it. It's like they knew just to throw in all sorts of different things here and there, which I loved. Now, so many portions of this game, for me, were worth revisiting, which always led to a high replay value for me. I played this game so much when I had it, as if it never got old. One of my most favorite sequences in the game was a boss battle featuring an opera tenor that is a giant mound of shit breaking into song. Before the fight begins, you hear a voice that asks for some sweet corn. You toss a kernel into this pool of shit, and he emerges in a grand fashion and starts singing.
What does he sing?
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?
There you go.
That is what he sings.
That is what he
right
said.
there.
Once you hear his song, you have to go around and he'll start throwing balls of shit at you. You have to find your context-sensitive pad and throw a giant roll of toilet paper into his mouth, in which he will get frustrated and sing yet another bar.
Do you really think you'll survive in here? You don't seem to know which creek you're in. Sweet corn is the only thing that makes it through my rear. How do you think I keep this lovely grin?
And then, obviously, that just goes into a circle. With normal games, you've got, the 3 time, you got to hit your boss 3 times before they're
Something
dead.
like that.
So, you land another hit, he sings, land another hit, he sings.
Now I'm really getting rather mad. You're like a niggly, tickly, shitty little tag nut. When I've knocked you out with all my bab, I'm going to take your head and ram it up my butt.
Your butt.
My butt.
Your butt.
That's right, my butt.
Ugh.
My butt. My butt.
And then finally, he'll be flushed down a drain, falling into, the classic Wizard of Oz fashion. Oh, what a world, what a world. And then just goes down into the drain. Yet another reference.
Does he say, I'm melting?
He doesn't. He says, I'm flushing, oh, what a world.
Nice.
So, because obviously melting, he's kind of already melted.
Kinda.
Yeah. Because he's, I don't
It depends on what the starfish.
And the
had to
texture, he's pretty gelatinous. Let's not get into poop
I
talk.
mean, like, I want to know the texture.
Very, very liquid.
Was he like one of them runny ones? Or was he
Yeah,
like
he's very runny.
half
Very
solid?
runny.
Yeah.
Until they got his sweet corn.
Yeah. And that's what produces his grands.
Wait, where does the sweet corn go? Does it stick in the top?
Well, no. I never really see where it goes. It just kind of absorbs in. But,
So you
I
have
think
the peanut eyes.
Yeah.
so. Now, another one of my favorite segments in the games comes from the first time you die. Now, in fact, you can probably play, and I don't know this 100% for sure, but I'm pretty sure you could go the entirety of this game, not die, and you would miss out on this entire thing, if you're that good. Because I know that I played it at one time trying not to die, and, you miss. I feel like you miss out on a good part if you do that.
Does
But
it
good
happen
for
as
you
soon
if
as
you
you
can.
die the first time?
Huh?
The first time you die? This
Yeah,
happens?
the very, very first time you die. So, the very first time you die, you will awaken in a dark chamber, hearing a deep, bellowing voice calling your name.
Conker! Conker!
And then suddenly, a figure emerges from the shadows, and it's a 2-foot-tall Grim Reaper named Greg.
I can't be asked for this bloody ridiculous contraption. Whose idea was this anyway?
He's a surly but sharp-witted little fella. When Conker decides to comment on his height,
Aren't you a little short to be a Grim Reaper?
Well, how many Grim Reapers have you met before, mate? What am I supposed to look like?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well made.
So he's from
Okay.
the UK.
yes, he is.
Okay.
In fact, that's actually one of the appeals of the game, is it's all voiced from a UK cast. So I feel like that just amplified it up a little bit.
That's why it made it cooler.
It did.
Definitely, 100%.
Greg goes on to explain that squirrels can die, but they have extra chances. Another meta joke, if you will, because you can collect lives and whatnot in the form of collecting little tails littered around the world in which you run around. He also points out a disdain for cats, which I found quite funny.
It's like those bloody cats. Such a pain in the ass. Bloody things. I hate those bloody cats. The way they meow and they piss everywhere. And their shit smells just bloody awful. All over my...
Now, I could probably spend an entire episode pointing out many of my favorite parts of this game because there are so many. I actually had to limit what I was going to talk about because I could talk about this game for hours. I really could. Just so...
I don't know that I would listen for hours.
Probably not, but like I said, there are just so many good bits in the game. The game was met with numerous high-praising reviews, highlighting the graphics, the sharp writing, the dialogue, as well as the wonderful voice cast. Chris Seaver, who was the voice of Conker, was actually the head writer and director of the game. And he did a fabulous job. I wish he'd do more stuff, but I'm sure he doesn't work for Rare anymore.
No, probably not.
Sorry. Obviously, there were some criticisms. One came from the game's camera, which I feel like that was a common trope within 64. I don't know what it was about the game cameras back in those days, but it's like they hadn't figured it out yet. You know what I mean?
You didn't have the second joystick over here.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's even still today. It's just, maybe they...
Well, it wasn't a free roam camera. It was a fixed camera, am I right?
Yeah, whatever direction you're facing.
I think with that one you had a little bit more of a fixed in a way, but you could move it around. But yeah, I do it. Yeah, more fixed than free.
You have to like press a certain button, like on a shoulder, to like look behind you in certain games or something.
Right. Some reviews were also not keen on the context-sensitive buttons, which I feel was kind of ridiculous that they did not. But one reviewer states that they made the game a little more than a procession of barely connected and puerile minigames. I disagree. I feel like it made each area unique because you're not... You know, in most games, even if it's a platformer game, there's a style to your fighting. There's a style of what you do when you find a boss. There's still a knack to it, but you go about it in the same way.
Right.
This, with every boss, with every level, the context-sensitive items changed up the dynamic of everything. Now, granted, they're still there, but you don't know what you're getting.
Right.
For example, you had to say you're going to see these enemies, and I think they were little trolls, or I don't even know what the hell they were, but they're on fire and they're trying to attack you. So what do? You find the context sensitive button and you drink a bunch of beer, and then now you're hammered. So how do you take care of them? You piss on them.
You pee on them.
And that's the only time in the entire game in which you do that. So that is, set for that one section of the game. You'll never do it again. So to me, that makes that unique. It's not every section you're going to go around pissing on everybody.
Yeah, I would though.
And there,
that sounds like a game in itself.
Oh yeah. And then later on in the game, when you actually go into a combat situation, the army with the fighting Nazi teddy bears, you load up. This is another one of those great references in the game. When you actually hit Landshore, they recreate the opening of Saving Private Ryan. You're seeing all these squirrels getting shot and everything like that. You see it, and Conker's just standing there like, what is going on? He's just freaking out. I don't know. It's amazing. But when you do that section of the game, you're decked out in combat gear and you actually have a gun.
Right.
So, again, nowhere else in the entire game do you have a gun, so now it becomes a third-person shooter.
Well, good. So
it's unique in that way.
You should be able to shoot squirrels every now and again.
Well, now you're shooting teddy bears.
Teddy bears. Screw teddy bears.
Now, obviously, for a game like this, it was met with some controversy. Nintendo slapped numerous warnings on the game's box to ensure that it was only meant for adults, which, again, makes you wonder why they even allowed this game to get published. I'm so glad they did, don't get me wrong. But for a company like them to allow this game, it was surprising at the time because you're like, this is a Nintendo game, really? That's interesting.
Think of the children.
Yeah, absolutely.
They think too much of the children, I think.
But I mean, in certain cases, there are just those rare times where a game comes out and I'm like, this is a Nintendo game? Okay.
Right.
Well, cool. And it shows that they're willing to take a chance from time to time.
They should do it more often.
Few and far between, it seems.
I think that I would.
Challenge is rich, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm glad they did.
Yes, absolutely.
I would have more respect if they did more often.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, this was along all the labels they slapped on it. It still had the ESRB label of mature on it. But Nintendo wanted to clarify, adults only. Nintendo of America also refused to promote it in Nintendo Power, and some toy retailers like KB Toys, which I think are bankrupt now, been closed.
Are they?
I haven't seen a KB Toys in years.
I haven't either. We didn't see a lot of them down here anyway, though.
No, that's true. Well, they refused to sell them.
I haven't seen one ever, so...
There are even stories and interviews that are documenting several cuts made to the game during production for jokes considered too risque and distasteful. You can actually find those online if you can just look up Rare Conker's Bad Fur Day interview with developers or whatnot. There were a few that were, speaking of the Nazi teddy bears, they had a cutscene where they showed a Nazi teddy bear with a little Hitler mustache, and all the bears were doing their little Zig Heil salute, and Nintendo was like, let's not do that. That's a little too far.
Yeah.
So they
sounds like a golden opportunity missed to me.
Yeah.
Personally.
But they pulled that. There was even another one which I kind of found interesting, is that there was a cut where they showed these two squirrels. Well, it was actually like a what do you call it? Execution site where they've got the soldiers tied up and they're gonna shoot them for execution. And I remember this scene because one of the squirrels survives, and then you kind of take him along as a companion because he has a little shell, like a turtle or something like that.
Yeah.
Weird. But in the N64 cut of the game, you just see two empty poles and then some blood around them. Apparently, there were two squirrels there that get shot along with this other one, and Nintendo asked them to remove it. Which, after everything you've seen in this game, why the hell would this matter? You just saw an entire slaughter of squirrels on the beach. What difference does this make?
That's them.
I didn't quite understand that cut because it just seems so trivial.
They didn't want to promote killing prisoners of war, I guess.
Yeah.
But killing them during war was fine.
There's no prisoners in war.
Perhaps. Anyway, after the sale of Rare to Microsoft, which was just terrible, the game saw a remake of sorts find its way onto the Xbox. The title was changed from Conker's Bad Fur Day to Conker Live and Reloaded to obviously push that Xbox Live thing that they had going where you could do multiplayer games now. What's ironic about this is that Live and Reloaded was edited even more than the N64 version.
Why?
I do not know. I wanted to verify this for sure. In fact, in the song that was sang earlier with the Great Mighty Pooh, they edited twat and what was the other word that he said? My shit. Yeah, they edited those words. I watched the clip and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So apparently Microsoft got cold feet before release.
Yeah, that's the console I played it on, is Xbox. And all I can say is the multiplayer Terminator scenario, like the Terminator versus the Rebels or the Resistance or whatever, that was like an awesome thing for me.
Yeah, that was another reference in the game, the whole Terminator bit. See, there's just so many. Many. I could list them off all day. Anyway, that I found that to be quite interesting. However, there is a proper port of the game that was seen on the Rare Replay collection for the Xbox One. So technically, you can play it now on that.
Technically.
What's upsetting to me about it all is I was kind of hoping, since you've got that whole Microsoft is Windows, I was kind of hoping that maybe after I thought about that, I was like, well, I wonder if I could find the Rare Replay on PC. And sure enough, no, I can't. Because I would love to have a copy of this game again because I sold my N64 at one point, and that was just the saddest day of my life because that's the only reason I kept it was for Conker's Bad Fur Day. I love this game so much. And anybody who's not played it, I know it sounds a little grotesque and weird, but you just look beyond the shit throwing and weirdness like that and pissing on enemies. It's much more than that. It's one of those raw comedies that's got a lot of heart and a lot of great stuff to it. It's satire at its finest.
At its finest.
At its finest. They did a fantastic job. Another thing that I read in an interview, I'm getting a little dry-throated. Dry-throated, is that Chris Seaver, again the director and creator of the game, voice of Conker, he was asked if you weren't under any pressure by publishers or anything like that, would you have edited anything in this game? And he said, absolutely not. I would have left everything in the game, no matter how, controversial or boundary breaking it was, I would have left it all in.
Right.
So there's a game out there that needs to come out, which is a director's cut of this game for new consoles. I want to see this, but Rare's got to get out from under Microsoft somehow.
Yeah, I would buy that.
I wish Sony would
And
buy 'em.
the game itself actually was slated to have 2 sequels, or at least 1 sequel specifically, but Microsoft was not interested. How about that? So we're all losing because Microsoft wants to be a dick.
Well, that's how they
I'm
do.
sorry, I just don't see the part of market growing from this release of a sequel of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do it for
Not
your
bad.
customers sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And that's like their Killer Instinct nonsense that they botched, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because that game, I remember playing a lot of Killer Instinct back in the day, and they just, I don't know. They've ruined a very awesome game company. This is one of their classics, along with GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie. Rare was a leader in game development, and now they just they're not that anymore.
They are not. That happens.
Well, guys,
You have no more pages in your hand.
I didn't. I almost set it down, but that's our show. That's our show.
That is. That's our show, guys. That's exactly how it goes.
We'd like to thank all of our listeners for following our podcasts across the web. Leave us reviews on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play Music, wherever you listen. We'd love to hear from you. You can follow our Facebook page, join our community page to talk about games with fellow gamers, give us topics to discuss, and then hop over to Redbubble for an official t-shirt or other merch, like a coffee mug. We need a coffee mug so I can have with me at all times as we're sitting here.
Yeah.
So I can
can you send me a coffee mug? I would like a coffee mug.
Yeah, we need coffee mugs out there that you can show off to people. On your stream, you can just
we need
lift
to
it up
start
and say,
sending gifts
"You see
to
that?"
our people that are on the show.
We do.
We need to do that.
Special paid promotion.
Yeah.
Gifts for our gift. Maybe we'll do that.
Here's your gift bag. It's got one gift in it,
A little gift.
but we paid more for the bag than we did the gift.
And the shipping to get it over
Yeah,
there.
the
too.
shipping to get it over there.
Now, you can also go to www.patreon.com/pencilandpaperproductions to help support our show. $5 or more can get you early access content to things such as Season 2 of our YouTube series Man Cave, which is out now.
Episode 2 comes out tonight.
Or for those of you listening on Monday, it's already out. So if you
That's
haven't
right,
seen Episode 2 or even Episode 1 yet, go over and check it out now. If you'd like to see the next 2 or 3 episodes, you can chuck in $1, $5, and then boom, there you go. You'll have them now.
Have them all.
Yeah,
Except
just
for
like
one.
Then there will be another episode later. But
You
hey,
can spend 45 minutes of your life watching.
that's right,
and be
for
done.
$5.
Done for $5.
That's all you need. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm Stephen White.
I'm Todd Stark.
Jyinx, man, it was a pleasure having you on the show, man.
A pleasure.
Hey, man, it was a pleasure being here. I've enjoyed it.
Join us again next time. But until then, game on.